Hello, today's experience was sent to us by a sister. She was told a message to the black race. This is an eye-opener. Kindly stay to the end to understand her experience. My name is Lydia Kalmas. On the day I had this experience before my dead, I was moving through my apartment. I got ready for work. I picked out my clothes, brushed my hair, and was about to sit down for breakfast when it happened. A sudden, sharp pain shot through my chest. At first, I thought maybe I had just moved the wrong way. But the pain didn't go away. It grew stronger, as if an invisible hand was squeezing my heart tighter and tighter. My breath caught. My vision blurred. My legs buckled beneath me, and before I knew it, I was collapsing onto the floor. I tried to call for help, but no sound came out. My heart was racing one moment, slowing the next. My body trembled. Fear flooded through me. And then, everything stopped. The pain was gone. The fear was gone. A strange silence filled the air around me that I blinked. I was still in my apartment, but something was different. Everything looked hazy, as if I was seeing through a thin veil. Then I turned my head and froze. I was lying on the floor. My body motionless, lifeless, was right there in front of me. But I was here too. Floating. Separate. How was that possible? Was I dreaming? I tried to move, but I wasn't walking, I was drifting. A deep calm settled over me, pushing away the panic that should have been there. That's when I saw the light. It started as a small glow in the distance, but it grew bright and warm, filling everything around me. It wasn't just light, it was something more. It was peace. A force beyond words. And it was calling me. I felt myself being pulled toward it, as if something unseen was guiding me. I didn't fight it. I didn't want to. As I moved closer, everything else faded. The world I had known, the life I had lived, it all felt so small now. There was only the light. And it was waiting for me. I stood there, bathed in a light so bright, yet it didn't hurt my eyes. It surrounded me, wrapped around me like a warm embrace, filling me with a peace I had never known before. And then I saw him. I stood in awe before Jesus, feeling the warmth and light radiating from him. My heart was heavy with questions, yet I couldn't bring myself to speak. It was as if he already knew everything I was thinking. He looked at me with eyes full of sorrow, yet there was a strength in his gaze that I couldn't understand. Without saying a word, he began to show me something. Suddenly, I wasn't in the bright light anymore. I was somewhere else, somewhere ancient. The air felt thick with history, and the land stretched out before me in a way that felt timeless. I saw massive cities, with grand structures made of stone and gold, shining in the sunlight. The people there were unlike any I had seen before. Their skin was dark, their eyes were deep with wisdom, and their faces radiated strength. They moved with a quiet grace, as if they knew who they were and what they were meant to do. These people, Jesus' voice echoed softly in my mind, were my chosen. They carried power, truth, and divine wisdom. I watched in awe as these people lived in perfect harmony with the world around them. They understood the earth, the stars, the very energy that flowed through all living things. They spoke to each other with their souls, healed with their hands, and lived in a way that honored God in everything they did. They had a connection to the divine that I couldn't even begin to comprehend. It was a sacred bond that made everything they did meaningful and powerful. But as I watched, the scene began to shift. The peaceful world I had seen started to darken. A cold fog crept over the land, and I saw strangers, invaders approaching. These men didn't understand the power the people held. In fact, they feared it. They came with chains, with weapons, with lies. They burned the knowledge that these people had passed down for generations. They destroyed the wisdom, erased the history, and took what wasn't theirs to claim. They sought to break them, Jesus said, his voice filled with sadness. They wanted to strip them of their power, make them forget who they were, and erase the truth. I felt the weight of what was happening. These powerful people, once so connected to the divine, were being torn from their homes, their families, their lands. They were forced into suffering, into chains, into silence. I saw them being beaten, broken, told they were nothing, and yet, even in the darkest moments, a light remained in them. No matter how much they tried to bury it, the light couldn't be completely extinguished. They could not destroy what I placed inside them, Jesus said. So they hid it. They changed the story. They created a world that would make them doubt themselves. The vision shifted again, showing me the generations that followed. I saw people struggling under the weight of lies and oppression. They were told they were cursed, that they were less than others, that they had no history, no future. I saw how systems were built to keep them down, how laws were created to strip them of their dignity and their power. And yet, despite everything, I saw the spark of divinity that never fully faded. It was still there, hidden beneath the layers of lies and pain. They have always been more than what the world told them, Jesus said. Their strength, their wisdom, their connection to me, it has never left them. But they must remember. The weight of his words hit me deep. What had been taken from them wasn't just their land, their homes, or their families. It was their very identity, their divine connection to God. And now it was time for them to remember, to reclaim what had been stolen. In that moment I understood. The truth wasn't just hidden in the past. It was something that had been buried, erased, and forgotten. But it had never been destroyed. It was still there, waiting to be remembered, waiting to be reclaimed. The vision left me with a feeling of both sadness and hope. Sadness for all that had been lost, but hope for the day when the truth would rise again. As I stood there, feeling the weight of everything I had just seen, I began to understand something profound. The people I had witnessed in the vision weren't just a distant memory, they were connected to something that ran deeper than history, something that had always been there. There was a divine spark within them, an unbroken connection to God, something that no amount of pain or suffering could ever erase. Despite the chains that had been placed upon them, the stories that had been stolen, and the lies they had been told, that spark had never fully extinguished. It had been hidden, buried deep beneath layers of fear, doubt, and confusion, but it was still there, burning quietly within them. It was a divine gift that could never be taken away. I felt the sorrow of the generations that had struggled in the shadows of these lies. The world had told them they were less, told them they were cursed, told them they had no future. I saw the faces of modern-day people, men, women, children, searching for something, feeling lost, disconnected from the truth of who they were. I saw how the distractions of the world, the noise, the fear, and the constant pressure to conform kept them from seeing the divine power that still lay dormant within them. But I also saw something else. I saw a glimmer of awakening. Slowly, one by one, I saw people begin to stir, to rise from the fog of confusion. They were searching for more. They were beginning to question the world that had been built around them. They were starting to feel the stirrings of that divine spark deep within, reminding them of who they truly were. Jesus' voice echoed in my mind, clearer now than ever. The time is coming. The truth can no longer be hidden. They will rise again. His words sank deep into my heart. This wasn't just a past event, it was a prophecy, a promise that had been waiting to be fulfilled. The divine spark, the ancient wisdom, the truth that had been buried for so long, it would rise again. The people who had been broken, silenced, and forgotten would no longer stay in the shadows. They would remember who they were, and they would reclaim their power, their wisdom, and their connection to God. The awakening wasn't just for those of the past. It was happening now in the present. I saw people beginning to break free from the lies they had been taught. The truth was starting to resurface, and with it came a sense of purpose, a sense of identity, and a deep, unshakable connection to the divine. They were awakening to the truth of who they were meant to be, and the world could no longer ignore it. The divine spark had never left them. It had simply been waiting for the right moment to ignite, and that moment was now. They were waking up, and when they did, they would rise higher than ever before. As I stood there, still reeling from the weight of everything I had just seen, a deep realization began to settle over me. The vision had not been given to me just for understanding, it had been given to me for a purpose. The truth I had witnessed, the power that had been hidden for so long, was not meant to remain buried. It was time for it to be shared, and that responsibility fell on me. I had seen the divine spark, the ancient wisdom that had been buried by the world's lies, and I knew in that moment that I couldn't keep it to myself. I couldn't allow the truth to be silenced any longer. It wasn't just about knowing, it was about speaking. It was about awakening the people, reminding them of who they truly were, and helping them reconnect with the power that had always been inside them. Jesus' words echoed in my mind, "Speak. Tell them who they are." When I opened my eyes, I was back in my body. My chest ached, and my limbs felt heavy, as if I had been carrying a great weight. The hum of hospital machines surrounded me, and the sharp scent of disinfectant filled my nose. I blinked, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Had it all been real? Had I truly stood before Jesus and seen the truth, or was it just a dream? But deep down, I knew the answer. It was real. Every vision, every word he spoke, it had happened. And now I was back. I had been sent back. The weight in my heart wasn't just from the pain of returning. It was from the message I had been given. I had to tell people. I had to share what I had seen. At first, I didn't know how. Where would I even start? How do you tell people something so big, so life-changing, without sounding crazy? I lay in that hospital bed for days, turning it over in my mind. I wanted to believe that if I just explained it clearly, if I spoke from the heart, people would listen. When I was finally well enough to go home, I tried to push the doubts away. I told myself that my family would understand, that my friends would see the truth. So I started small. One evening, as we sat around the dinner table, I took a deep breath and began to speak. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on my shoulders. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about a people who had been silenced, a history that had been erased, and a truth that had been buried. It was time to give them their voice back, to help them remember their worth, their strength, their connection to the divine. I could feel the fire in my soul growing stronger. The mission was clear. I had to share the truth, no matter the challenges. I had to help the people remember who they were and awaken to the power that had always been within them. I could no longer stand by in silence. The world needed to hear this message, and I was the one chosen to deliver it. Thank you for sharing.